Chapter 6. Natural. The day after our encounter at the motel begins with a sense of lightness I haven't experienced in a long time. During lunch, Pedro and I arranged that he would stop by my apartment in the late afternoon so I could show him my notes on Gibson. The literary pretext now seems almost comical to me. We both know that literature is just one of the things we intend to explore together. I arrive home and begin to prepare. I discreetly tidy up the bedroom, change the sheets, check if I have condoms in the drawer. I set out my notes on neuromancer on the living room table to at least maintain the appearance of our academic pretext. I send a message to Fair letting her know I'll have a visitor, adding that emoji she knows well, our code for don't show up without warning. Her response is almost immediate. Enjoy, I won't be back until after 10. I left wine in the fridge. I smile at the screen. Fair has always been my greatest ally. At exactly 5:30 p.m., the doorbell rings. Pedro is there, holding a small paper bag and looking adorable in his simple jeans and black t-shirt. His hair is still slightly damp, as if he'd just come out of the shower. "Hi," he says, that smile I'm beginning to adore lighting up his face. "Hi," I respond, giving him space to enter. Punctual. "Always," he confirms, handing me the bag. "I brought something to accompany the studies." Inside the bag, I find a bottle of red wine and a box of artisanal chocolates. My weakness, I confess, genuinely touched by the gesture. Pedro passes by me, looking around the apartment with curiosity. His eyes scan the bookshelves, the photographs on the walls, the small collection of vinyl records in the corner. "I like your place," he comments, stopping to examine a photo where I'm with Fair at a beach, both of us wearing ridiculously large hats and holding colorful drinks. "Is this your friend?" "Yes, Fair," I confirm, placing the chocolates in a small glass bowl. "She's not home right now." Pedro continues observing the photos, lingering especially on one where Fair and I are embracing at our high school graduation. "You two really have been friends for a long time." "Since we were 10, I explain, opening the wine bottle he brought. "We've been practically inseparable since then." He turns to me, an expression I can't completely decipher. "That's rare, friendships like that." "I got lucky," I respond, extending a glass of wine to him. "She's always been like a sister to me." I pause, observing him carefully. "Why the interest in Fair?" Pedro shrugs, but there's something in his posture that suggests discomfort. "Just curiosity." "Well, she's a big part of my life," I say, indicating the notes on neuromancer I've set out on the table. "But we didn't come here to talk about Fair." He smiles, seeming relieved by the change of subject. "True, you promised to show me why Gibson is so revolutionary." We sit on the sofa, side by side, the notes spread between us. I begin to explain some fundamental concepts of cyberpunk, Gibson's narrative innovations, the connections with postmodern literary theories. Pedro listens with genuine attention, asking insightful questions that show that, although he's never read the work, he understands the technological concepts that underpin it. We're so absorbed in the discussion that I barely notice when he moves closer, his knee touching mine, his hand occasionally brushing mine as he turns the pages. The contact, even casual, sends small electric currents through my skin. "So," he says, after almost an hour of conversation, "is that what you do? Analyze narratives, find connections that others don't see?" "Basically," I confirm, surprisingly satisfied by his interest. "It's like a literary puzzle." "It's fascinating," he comments, his eyes fixed on mine now, no longer on the notes. "You're fascinating." The tone of the conversation changes subtly. The academic intensity gives way to something more personal, more intimate. "You barely know me," I respond, though I feel my body leaning almost imperceptibly toward him. "I'm working on that," he says, so close now that I can feel his warm breath on my face. If you'll allow it. I don't respond with words. Instead, I eliminate the distance between us, my lips finding his with a familiarity that shouldn't exist after such a short time together. The kiss is different from the previous ones, less urgent, more exploratory, as if we had all the time in the world. When we separate, I see his eyes scanning the apartment again, briefly pausing on the hallway that leads to the bedrooms. Fair really won't be back so soon, he asks, and there's a vulnerability in his voice that surprises me. Not before 10, I confirm. We have the place to ourselves. He nods, seeming to process the information. And you have codes for this. Yes, I respond, intrigued by his insistence on the subject. Most roommates develop systems like this. It's not that unusual. And she, he hesitates, choosing his words carefully, also brings people here. I finally understand his concern. Yes, sometimes. We're adults, Pedro. We respect each other's space. Of course, he responds quickly. Sorry if I seemed, I don't know, strange. A bit, I admit, but I smile to soften the statement. Can I ask why this bothers you so much? Pedro sighs, running his hand through his hair in a gesture that seems a sign of nervousness. It's not a bother exactly, it's just that. He pauses, as if organizing his thoughts. When Fair and that arts girl passed by my class, the way they were talking about the project, it seemed, I don't know, suggestive. Suggestive, I repeat, genuinely confused. Like it wasn't just conceptual photography, he explains, a slight blush rising up his neck. Some guys in my class got the impression that it was for something more adult. I can't contain the laugh that escapes my lips. Seriously, you thought Fair was recruiting for some kind of explicit content production. His face is now completely red. When you put it that way, it sounds ridiculous. Because it is, I continue laughing, unable to contain myself. Fair is doing a serious project for her visual marketing class. She's extroverted and direct, yes, but it's not what you're thinking. Then why were the guys in my class so excited? He asks, still seeming suspicious. Because they're guys, I respond simply. A group of computer science guys sees two pretty girls talking about conceptual photography and immediately thinks of something sexual. It's not their fault. Pedro now seems genuinely embarrassed, when you put it that way. Look, I say, holding his hands, Fair is my best friend. I know her better than I know myself sometimes. If you and I are going to continue this, I make a vague gesture between us. You'll probably meet her at some point, and it would be good if you didn't have these strange ideas about her. You're right, he agrees, squeezing my hands lightly. Sorry, wrong first impression. Forget about it, I say, leaning in to kiss him again. Now, I think we were in the middle of something before this digression about my roommate. He smiles against my lips. True, where were we? I think you were about to show me your knowledge of other types of literature, I whisper, already pulling him down the hallway toward my bedroom. What follows is a much more intimate and comfortable exploration than our night at the motel and our afternoon in the student union room. Without the impersonality of the environment, without the rush of those who fear being interrupted, we can really get to know each other, not just physically, but in whispered conversations between kisses, in moments of vulnerability, in shared laughter when something doesn't go exactly as planned. Later, lying in my bed, the early evening light filtering through the curtains, Pedro traces imaginary designs on my arm with his fingertips. Can I ask you something? He says, his voice soft and sleepy. Sure. Have you had many relationships? He asks, and there's a genuine curiosity in his voice. Not many, I respond, feeling a strange vulnerability. From early on, I always knew what I wanted. Graduation with honors, master's degree, academic career. Relationships were never a priority. And now? The question hangs between us, laden with meanings I'm not ready to fully explore. Now, I respond carefully. I'm trying to be more flexible with my plans. He seems satisfied with the answer, pulling me closer. Flexible is good. We remain silent for a few minutes, just feeling each other's presence. It's a comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need to be filled. You know, he finally says, I think I'll actually read Neuromancer now. I laugh softly against his chest. Because of me. For my own sake, he corrects, but your notes will be an excellent bonus. I can lend you my copy, I offer. It's full of markings and comments in the margins. I'd like that very much, he responds, and I know he's being sincere. We stay like this, talking about books, movies, music, dreams, all those things that people discover about each other at the beginning of a relationship. It's surreal how, in such a short time, Pedro has managed to infiltrate my life, as if there had always been a space reserved for him that I didn't even know was there. Eventually, he needs to go. He has a project to turn in the next day and needs to finalize it. I accompany him to the door, wrapped in my robe, feeling a surprising reluctance to see him leave. When can I see you again? He asks, holding my face between his hands. Tomorrow, I suggest, not caring if I seem too eager. His smile lights up his entire face. Tomorrow. One last kiss, and he's gone. I close the door and lean against it, a silly smile on my face. I don't recognize myself, this impulsive, eager, emotionally available Sofia. It's as if Pedro had found a version of me that I didn't even know existed. I return to the living room and begin to collect our glasses, the scattered papers, the traces of our afternoon together. I realize I left my phone in silent mode, and upon checking it, find 3 messages from Fair. How's it going? Have you reached the notes on Gibson yet? I laugh at the screen, typing a quick response. All great. He's already gone. You can come back whenever you want. Her response is almost instantaneous. Heading home now. Wine and gossip in 20 minutes. I put away the phone, still smiling. As much as I'm anxious to see Pedro again tomorrow, the prospect of a night of confidences with Fair fills me with a different, but equally valuable, kind of happiness. Some connections in life are fleeting, others are intense but brief. And some, like my friendship with Fair and this new feeling growing for Pedro, seem to have the potential to define us, to transform us into better versions of ourselves. For the first time in a long time, I'm not trying to predict or control what comes next. I'm just living, and the feeling is surprisingly good.